Alright, this is going to be my last video today. It's my third video. I'm hoping to try to upload it this weekend, but I don't know. Just kind of like undid my ponytail just to make it look like I'm doing something different. But I told you guys it was the same day, so maybe I shouldn't have done that, whatever. But, alright, so this one is going to be how it all started. Honestly, guys, I really don't remember, because it was so natural for me when I became a Christian just to be reading my Bible, and I knew God was communicating to me. Every day He would show me something new, and I'm always learning something new about Him every single day. Like, that's His purpose. His purpose is to lead us and to teach us about Himself. So, I don't know, like, there was never really a question for me in my mind about God, like, after I became a Christian, or about Him leading me, teaching me, guiding me, because I know I come off as kind of crazy, and I don't know, I think I'm the normal one. Like, if you're not sharing Jesus with people and you're not sharing what He's teaching you, it's like, well, that's normal to me. That's like, if I want to have a communication or a conversation or even a relationship with someone, I'm gonna tell them about the stuff that's going on in my life. Um, Jesus is the same way. He communicates with us. He shares with us the stuff about His kingdom, like who He wants us to talk to. Like, I think that's vitally important in any relationship. And when I first became a Christian, it was obvious that God was teaching me stuff. Like, I mean, I would have exact, like, I remember one of the times, like, I'd become a Christian and I was in the restroom. I was talking to God. I was praying, and then later that same day, I went and read the Bible, and my exact prayer were the exact words that were written in the Bible. And I was like, oh snap! Well, we have the same Spirit, so we experience the same God, and we're experiencing the same God. We're going through the same similar things, not the exact same experience, but similar experiences that evoke similar feelings. And I was like, well, this makes sense. Like, of course I found the right God. If this is the right God, this would be the kind of stuff you expect. And it made me happy. Like, I've never questioned Him. I guess the biggest thing that happened to me as a Christian was I joined a religious organization that wasn't good for me. Ultimately, God worked it out for my good, but um, they kind of stood between me and God. Like, they wanted to be my head. Um, they wanted to teach me to be a missionary when God was already doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I joined an organization that was supposed to train me to be a missionary, and God was already training me to be a missionary. He was teaching me how to share my faith. He was teaching me about Himself. I was drawing closer to Him in love, and He was drawing closer to me in love. And I think that that's where um, every religion falls apart, is that they put man, a man stands before man and God, and that's never going to work. These people wanted to control aspects of my life that God was already in control of, and I suffered greatly for it, because I believed, hey, God, of course, they're training me to be a missionary. That's doing God's work. It was obvious. It was a decision I made in my flesh. God didn't want me to do that. I mean, it was obvious to me, but it wasn't obvious to God. Like, I didn't even pray about it. I just like, man, of course, become a missionary. That's what. Why wouldn't God want you to be a missionary? But everything happens in its own time, and that was ultimately ended up being a dangerous step for me, because I trusted God less. In putting my trust in man, I lost my trust in God, and God had to rebuild that up again. And of course, He did it. Of course, eventually, um, He gave me love for a specific girl, and I had to put my trust that God was going to work that out. And I started to see that He was communicating with me. Like, one of the things that happened when I was part of that missionary organization was they made me read my Bible. I had no problems reading my Bible before. Like, I would read my Bible every single day for hours. But when they put a law on me, they killed it. They killed my Christianity when they put a law. And God, He worked it out for the better. Again, I don't read the Bible every day to day. Ever since then, I haven't read the Bible, and I went through a whole period of my life where I completely rejected the Bible. And this is as a Christian. I'm not saying I rejected the Bible as an atheist. Of course, as an atheist, I rejected everything about God. But as a Christian, I rejected the Bible, and I shied away from things of the Bible, because that's what they used in order to assert authority over me. Like, they were asserting their authority over me when the only person who has authority over a man is Christ. Um, that's a verse again. Like, God tells us that man is the head of woman and Christ is the head of man. And then, of course, the Father would be the head of Christ. Like this is, um, it's basic stuff. Like again, I don't, and that verse is only one witness. I'm not trying to assert authority over anybody else, but you can see it in, like we can feel it as we experience God, that He's our head. He's the one leading us. Um, and I'll make another video about the head thing. Like the head thing is really cool because um, if you consider just what human beings are, and most animals, they're vertebrates, and I'll make another video about that. But this is how it all started. Like I remember, it all started with just reading the Bible. Like I became a Christian through reading God's word, and God ultimately reached out to me. Jesus was dying alone on the cross, and as an atheist, I had not a single friend in this world. Like they all abandoned me. They all turned their back on me. In the same way Jesus was rejected, I saw that. Oh snap! I saw myself in Jesus, and I was like, man, me and him belong together for sure. No matter what you can say about God, like I knew for sure me and Jesus belonged together. And what a wonderful thing, like I received three gifts when I came to Jesus, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The same way Jesus received three gifts when he came into this world, gold, myrrh, and frankincense. Gold being the substantial thing, like frankincense and myrrh, if you look them up, they're similar things. They're smelling good things, they're sweet smelling things, representing the Father and the Spirit because they're alike. And gold would be the thing of substance. Really cool. I don't know. It's just a thing God showed me one time. But it all started there. I was just reading the Bible, and I knew, like, I didn't have to have faith. I wasn't faithing anything. Like the faith was natural that God was speaking to me through His Word, and God was communicating and leading me through His Word. What was unnatural was going to that church. Honestly, like it was unnatural because they were trying to tell me what God was trying to tell me. You know what I'm saying? They were trying to say God is saying this through this verse. I'm like, you don't control what God is saying through that verse. You can say that contextually and historically, this is what the apostle was trying to say. But as far as what God's trying to say to you when He brings a verse to your attention, it's totally different. Um, it's totally different. Like um, honestly, like one time God told me to not make a claim against my boss who was stealing from me. He said, "Hey, don't make a claim against this person. Just be quiet." Um, God didn't literally tell me to be quiet, but it just so happened that I was asking God on what I should do. I was crying because my boss was stealing from me. I needed the money, and the verse that I happened to read, it was the verse of the day, I think. But the verse I came across was, "Be silent, and the Lord will contend for you." And I was like, oh snap! And that was a lesson I need to learn because I'm in a position where I can't reach out and I can't speak for myself. That the one who has to justify me and speak for me is God. And that was a vitally important lesson that God taught me. And He told me to be quiet and knew He was telling me to be quiet. There was no doubt. Like I was asking God what I should do. Next thing I read is God telling, I guess, a prophet. Like if I have to find the verse, but historically speaking, God is not talking to me. Historically speaking, He's talking to that prophet, whoever wrote that book. He's talking to that person and telling him to be quiet. But I'm not talking about history. I'm talking about what the Spirit is telling me. God is communicating to me through spiritual means, which is the words in the Bible, and He's communicating to my spirit and to my heart what He wants me to do. So they can say, "Oh no, this or that or whatever," but dude, I guarantee you, like that's one of the ways that God uses is the Word. They can't tell me what the verse means. Like Jesus is interpreting the Bible for me in my mind, and He's teaching it to me. Um, so anyway, and again, they're going to say, "Oh, those are very subjective things." Yeah, my experience with God is subjective to you, but it's objective to me. Like, what do you mean? Like, if I start saying this isn't true, then it's like, man, did God ever speak to me? Is He ever trying to lead me? Is He ever trying to communicate with me? It's like ridiculous. They're the ones who actually killed the Bible for me. And of course, I'm a person of extremes anyway. God was going to do that regardless. Like He was going to take me through the extreme of being super Bible and like reading the Bible all the time. And He's going to take me through the opposite extreme, which was not reading the Bible at all, but still experiencing Jesus Christ. Because no matter what, you're always going to be experiencing Him. I mean, there's people and there's Christians in North Korea that don't have a Bible. So God's always working some way or another. Uh, yeah, but honestly, like there's been some awesome times, and I'm gonna tell you, it started with something so simple like me learning to trust God. Um, like honestly, every time I lost a pen, like one time I remember I was looking for a pen for like 40 minutes. I don't know why. I'm like, like once I'm on something, I'm on that. So I lose that pen, I'm looking for that. I'm gonna find that pen. You know what I'm saying? So I was looking for this pen for 40 minutes, and I was like, man, let me just pray about this. And I prayed to God, and God helped me find that pen. Uh, and honestly, like that happened a few more times after that. The next time I remembered to pray within 20 minutes. So it only took me 20 minutes to find that pen. Next time, 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, snap. So it became a thing. Like every time I lost a pen, I was like, okay, God wants me to pray and ask Him to find this pen. It was something so simple. Like, and I didn't have to I didn't try this to happen. Like, this was God teaching me that He was trustworthy. Because honestly, like with the pen, it was within 1 second. As soon as I prayed to God, I would find the pen. And He was even doing it right there towards the end because I was laughing. Like He would make me lose my pen just so I could ask Him to find my pen and then find the pen. You see what I'm saying? It's ridiculous, but I mean, I thought it was cute. I thought it was adorable. Like, and then sometimes, like right there at the end, like I would just be about to pray, and as soon as I was about to pray, I would find the pen. You know what I'm saying? Because God was only looking for that attitude of trust. He wanted me to trust Him. Um, Little did I know that He was gonna I was gonna be kicked out of that mission or organization, and I was gonna go through extreme suffering. But He wanted me to know that He was trustworthy, um, and that's what He is. It was trustworthy, and honestly, it didn't start with the pen. It started way before the pen. Before I even met the missionary organization, I was doing a lot of study into like evolution and science and stuff, and I was really scared. I didn't want to look into that stuff, but I was like, man, you're a God of truth. I should not be scared. Like, I'm gonna look in this, give them both a fair shake, and if it turns out that evolution is true, I'm gonna believe it. Like, whatever's true is true. Um, and I remember talking to God and saying, man, I'm really scared about this stuff. And I went to bed, and it was super, like, there was a big fan in my room that was blowing, and I had my Bible open, and it kept flipping the pages on my Bible. It was annoying me. So I was like, and then all of a sudden it stopped. Like the pages stopped flipping on the Bible. So I took note. It was like Psalms 50 something. It'd be so crazy because, of course, I was young in the faith. I don't even remember what Bible verse it was open to, what chapter. But man, that was probably something so profound that I missed. Like it was open to a specific place. I can't remember what that is, and I don't think I ever even read it. I just knew that it was open to I think it's a Psalms 51. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. But anyway, it was open to, let's say, Psalms 51. So it was open to Psalms 51, and I remember the page. I remembered the page before I went to sleep, and I was like, God, okay, like even though this wind is blowing right now, the page hasn't flipped. So if you're real, stupid stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like this is Gideon level stuff. But I went to sleep, and I was like, man, if you're real, just keep it on that page. And I woke up the next morning, it was still on that page, and I was like, oh snap. Like you really did do that just for me. It blew my mind. And I'm not telling you guys do this. Like of course God says a wicked and adulterous generation seeks for signs and wonders. And honestly, the more you experience of God, it's much easier just to have faith. I'm being 100% honest. Um, but I mean, I asked God for that and He gave it to me. Like I trusted Him with it. And He did it. I have no doubt. You know what I'm saying? It was ridiculous. And people could say that's a coincidence, whatever you want, but it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I knew He could, and I wasn't going to doubt Him. Actually, when I went to sleep, I said, look, whether the page is on it or not, it doesn't matter to me. I know who you are, and I believe in you. It's really weird because honestly, if you look at the other people in the past, I was going to say holy man. That's almost like I'm a holy man. Uh, I'm a complete man. I'm not going to say I'm a holy man. I have no idea. But Jesus makes me complete for sure. Um, that's beautiful. Anyway, yeah, so other people in the past have said the same thing. Like Daniel, I remember everyone knows Daniel in the lion's den, but before that actually happened, there was Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Those are his three buddies or whatever, and they were going to die. They were going to be burned alive in the fire. And they said, look, we're not going to bow down to you. You're not God. Like, forget that. I don't care about those rules. And he was like, hey, you have one last chance. And he was like, no, God's able to save us from the fire is what they say. And even if He doesn't, He's still God. And I remember I had that attitude before I fell asleep. And this is something God just reminded me. I didn't remember this until just now talking to you. That the attitude that you should have before God is an attitude of trust. Like, dude, even if He didn't do it, because again, people are going to say confirmation bias. If you're an atheist, you're going to say it's a confirmation bias, but like it's not. Like God literally had it happen. If it happens, you're going to say it was a coincidence, not a miracle. If it didn't happen, then if it wouldn't have happened, you would say that it was confirmation bias, that I'm choosing what to accept and choosing what not to accept. Um, but I mean, I believe God led me in that direction for a reason, and that's where it was like, man, you really did care, like you, because I knew, like as a person, if he would have turned the page or not turned the page, it wouldn't have made a difference to me. Like I was still going to believe in him, but it was all the more endearing because he did turn the page. You see what I'm saying? Like you didn't have to do that, man. You did this because you know I believe in you. You know I love you. Like I'm not loving something that doesn't exist. That's freaking stupid. I'm not loving and something of my of own figment of my imagination. I'm loving you, and I do know you exist. But it was just beautiful. It was endearing to me that even though I had come to terms with his existence, I was a young Christian at the time. Um, that God still gave me that extra. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a God of abundance. He's like, man, yeah, I'll do this for him. I love this guy. Very many other things like, and it's not always with faith. You know what I'm saying? One time I was going through a really rough period in my Christianity, and I had headphones, and the headphones were broken. And I remember I was in the car with my dad was taking me to school. He was driving me to school, and I remember hearing "Great is Thy Faithfulness." So beautiful. I'm probably gonna cry, like, because it was so beautiful. I was like sinning really hardcore against God, and I was wanting to go in the right direction. When I heard that song, like I just started getting tears in my eyes. I was like, man, you're right. God is so beautiful. And of course, my dad switches the radio station. Um, so I was like, man, you would do this. Like, you would take this beautiful thing away from me. Like, it's just what we need in order to start like going in the right direction, me and God. And of course, that's super acidic. Like God's not like that. He loves his children. But I was like, man, you would take this away from me. I was like, well, I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna check out a laptop. I'm gonna play this song. Even though these headphones are broken, I'm gonna play this song, and you better play the song for me, like, because I just needed something to get me back on the right track. And headphones were broken, and he fixed the headphones. I still have those headphones. They're at home in my treasure box. But it was so beautiful. Like I was going through a rough period. I needed him to come for me and to sing to me, and that was what he was doing. I was like, dude, it was so beautiful because it's like, great is thy faithfulness, and that's what the song is about. And he was faithful. Anyway, but it starts with simple stuff, man. Like God is a wonderful person, and he wants you to experience him and know him. So anyway, I'm crying like a little girl, but just trust him, man. Whatever it is, just talk to him. He knows. Jesus is the only God that can ever know your pain and your suffering, your lack. Like, dude, come on. You gonna tell me freaking Allah knows that? If I have trouble believing that the Father understands me, like much less someone who didn't give me his son. You know what I'm saying? Like the person I communicate with the most with is of course Jesus Christ. Like who else understands what it's like to be human? You're gonna tell me God understands what it's like to be human? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't me speaking, obviously. This is like me before I'm imitating me as an atheist. Like God doesn't understand me. He never understood me. Again, as an atheist, like, but now as a Christian, I'm like, man, dude, God does know. Jesus knows everything that goes on in my life, and it broke his heart when I went through that atheist phase. It breaks his heart every time I go through this, like, hey, I want to do this, and God wants me to do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, it breaks his heart to do that. But honestly, like, he's the only one that's there. I mean, dude, you've watched these videos. Like, he's literally in your breath, in your heart, in your heartbeat. Like, everything is Jesus. Everything is God screaming to you, Jesus Christ, because he's the wonderful gift that God has given us. And I rarely ask God for things. I've asked God for very little things. One of them has been my wife. Like, I want a wife, God. Um, but honestly, like, the reason I almost never ask God for things is because what more can I ask for, dude? Like, what more can I ask from God but what he's already given? Like Jesus Christ, eternal life, um, perfect love. Like there's nothing more I can ask from God in this world. And the reason I ask for a wife is because I want to express the love that Christ has given me. I want to express that to my weaker vessel. You know what I'm saying? I want to sacrifice everything for her. But I don't know. Like you guys just he's a wonderful gift, dude. God has given us a wonderful gift in Jesus Christ, and I want you guys to experience that, and I want you guys to trust him. And when your heart breaks, because your heart is going to break, especially like your relationship with God, he's going to put you through trials and tribulations. Like you have to in order to grow. but continue to trust him. And I mean, there's no clearer verse, but even if he slays me, I will still trust in him. In the same way, like God has slayed me. You didn't think that hurt when I was supposedly I wanted to do God's will. I was joining a missionary organization, and God got me kicked out after what, 7 months, 8 months. Um, so it was ridiculous. Like you didn't think that broke my heart. That destroyed me. I didn't think God was ever going to use me again. I was like, oh snap. Well, I guess I flunked out of doing His will. He's not going to use me. But I guarantee you, after He got me kicked out of that organization, I spoke to more people than I have ever spoken to in my life about Jesus. Like God gave me more opportunities because He was like, dude, I'm faithful. Like you don't need some man telling you. You don't need some man training you about how to communicate to others. And dude, like I live and breathe Jesus. Like I didn't need them to show me how to tell other people. And that's not anything against what other people do. I have no idea. But I mean, we have the best source for training available ever, Jesus Christ, like in the resurrection. Like we may not have him in the flesh, but we have him in the resurrection, like resurrected state. He can be anywhere at any time. He's always concerned with your stuff. Like he's always taking care of you. Like it's the best training you could ever ask for. And then you're gonna say, hey, no, well, I'm gonna learn from God from this guy. Like what? Who's that guy? I always tell people like I'm nobody, man. I'm just some dude that's sharing my personal experience about Jesus, my personal experience with Jesus, with you guys. And if that helps you grow in your faith, awesome. Um, but I'm by no means the expert on Jesus, dude. I'm just one part, and I want other people to share their experiences about Jesus. Like this is probably gonna be the first in another series that I'm gonna upload is just like what I've experienced with God, and it all started with I guess that pen, you know what I'm saying? Like it was something because I mean, that's super, like God is a super romantic person. Like Jesus is so romantic. And those moments, like when he was great is thy faithfulness, like that thing, I'll always remember that. Just like I'll always remember first becoming a Christian. But those little things are very important to me too. Like I know exactly what it's like to want to have someone there to talk to every single day. Because like that's who Jesus is for me. And if he didn't help me in my daily little things, then I couldn't trust him in the big things. And it was that small little pen thing that I could never lose a pen because I would always just pray to God and he would help me find that pen. That was a beautiful thing to me. That he's there not only in the big stuff but in the little stuff, and the little stuff makes me so happy. Because every time I would pray, and like, man, God, you just want me to pray to you to ask this pen, and sometimes I would be like, no, I'm not gonna pray to you. I can find this pen. This is ridiculous. I remember that was one time, dude. It was so funny because the pen fell, and like literally as I was looking for it, God blinded my eyes because it was right there in front of my face until I prayed to Him. It was like the funniest thing because I was like, dude, the pen was right there the whole time. What is going on? And I couldn't see it. Like it's really ridiculous. Like I don't know. It's good. Like, but it made me mad at the time. Like, kind of like a ridiculous kind of mad. Like, come on, are you serious? Like, even when the pen is right there, you won't let me see it unless I have the right attitude. And it's the same way. Like with everything that God shows you, like He wants you to have the right heart attitude. God doesn't care. Like He literally blinded my eyes. It was right in front of my face. I couldn't even see it. And He did that several times because, of course, I'm gonna find that pen, like dig my heels in. But no, I mean, dude, I don't know. It's just something interesting. Anyway, think about it, pray about it. Sorry I cried throughout the whole video. All right, peace and love. Bye.